The past 48 hours have made two things abundantly clear. Donald Trump's administration is one of the most incompetent in American history, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is among the least informed members of Congress. In the midst of a major national security scandal, Greene made a reckless decision to insert herself into the controversy, one that led to her being rightfully criticized in Congress. We'll dive into the details shortly, but before we do, if you enjoy our content, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. It truly makes a difference and means a lot to me. Now, before we discuss Marjorie Taylor Greene and her public rebuke, let's hear from a real leader in Georgia, Jon Ossoff, as he takes on the failures of Trump's administration.
And they were discussing the timing of sending U.S. air crews into enemy airspace where they faced an air defense threat, correct?
I'm going to, Senator, defer to the other principles that you're referring to about what the meaning and the context of what they were
talking about
auditing.
the timing of U.S. airstrikes, correct?
Yes.
Yes, and therefore the timing of sending U.S. air crews into hostile airspace, correct?
Yes.
And therefore the time period during which enemy air defenses could target U.S. air crews flying in enemy airspace, correct?
I don't know that.
You do know that. Let me ask this question, General Hawk. You lead America's signals intelligence collection. Would the private deliberation of foreign senior officials about the wisdom and timing of potential military action be a collection priority for you and the U.S. intelligence community?
Senator, it's our job to do indications and warning for both the plans and intentions of adversary leaders and for military commanders.
And would not information about the timing of airstrikes allow a military to pre-position or cue air defense systems to shoot down enemy aircraft?
I think, Senator, from our perspective, any advance warning is something that we certainly are trying to protect.
Yeah. Director Ratcliffe, this was a huge mistake, correct?
No.
A national political...
Hold on.
No, you
Let me
hold
answer.
on. No, Director
The
Ratcliffe, I asked you a yes or no question, and now you hold on. A national political reporter
You can characterize it how you want.
was made privy
The White
to
House has
sensitive
made
information
clear
about
that there
imminent
was an
military
inadvertent
operations against a
mistake,
foreign terrorist
inadvertent
organization.
mistake of adding a reporter.
And that wasn't a huge
to a
mistake?
seal.
That wasn't a huge mistake?
Well, I think they characterize
This is
it as
an
a mistake.
embarrassment. This is utterly unprofessional. There's been no apology. There has been no recognition of the gravity of this error. And by the way, we will get the full transcript of this chain, and your testimony will be measured carefully against
On a
its
day
content.
as serious as today, it's no surprise that Republicans are doing everything they can to spin the story and push propaganda for Donald Trump. However, you wouldn't expect them to actively make the situation worse. Yet that's exactly what Marjorie Taylor Greene did. She decided to propose a solution to our nation's biggest security crisis. But in her view, the real problem isn't Donald Trump's erratic behavior, Pete Hegseth's alleged drinking habits, or Mike Waltz's confusion over how a group chat works. No, she believes the real issue is something else entirely. Rather than explaining it myself, I'll let you hear it straight from her.
I'm headed down to the Natural Resources Committee where I will be presenting my bill to rename the Gulf of America. I'm very excited that the Natural Resources Committee is going to be looking at my bill, looking and hoping for it to be passed through the committee so that we can move it to the House to pass it on the House floor. This will codify President Trump's executive order to rename the Gulf of America.
Marjorie Taylor Greene believes that our biggest national security threat isn't a real crisis. It's the naming of the Gulf of Mexico. Yes, you heard that right. There has never been someone more absurd nor a more shameless bootlicker. And that's exactly why she was absolutely torn apart for this ridiculous take. Watch this epic takedown for yourself.
I'm in my 13th year in Congress. I've never seen anything even remotely like the gentlelady from Georgia's bill to curry favor with Donald Trump by affirming his swaggering ignorance in trying to rename the Gulf of Mexico. This is just remarkable new stuff in this committee, just bootlicking sycophancy of the highest order. And the only point of this bill, and everybody knows it, is just to kiss up to Donald Trump. All of you know that this is not a serious bill. Surely many of you are embarrassed by this naked tribute to the cult leader. But here we are. We're actually dedicating committee time to this joke of a bill. And of all of the unserious things that have been said about this deeply unserious bill, perhaps the biggest joke of all is the suggestion that it has something to do with national security. The sponsor of the bill mentioned national security. One of the witnesses talked about this as if somehow kissing up to Donald Trump and renaming the Gulf of Mexico will make us safer. I mean, come on. Anyone who wants to be taken seriously about national security should be talking about one thing and one thing only today. Reporting from The Atlantic yesterday revealed that senior Trump administration officials, including the Vice President, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, Director of National Intelligence, U.S. National Security Advisor, and White House Chief of Staff, debated and coordinated an airstrike on a foreign adversary in the Middle East using the messaging app Signal. The conversation, which included an exchange of classified information over a non-secure platform on non-secure devices, was complete with craven political justification for the strike, middle school-style celebration of an attack that actually killed people, and yes, even emojis. And the reason we know all this is they accidentally included the editor of The Atlantic in the text chain. Unfortunately, unlike the Gulf of America legislation before us, this is not a joke. What it is a breathtaking breach of national security and public trust that makes Americans less safe and makes our country the laughingstock of the world. Imagine if instead of fat-fingering the Signal handle of a reporter, one of these clowns had looped in a less responsible journalist, or a reporter with Putin's RT, or maybe a defense or an intelligence contact with opposing views of the conflict in Yemen, maybe someone motivated to leak it. Kevin Carroll, a national security lawyer and former CIA officer, said it best in the Washington Post yesterday evening. If these people were junior uniformed personnel, they would be court-martialed. So where's the accountability? Where's the outrage from my friends across the aisle? I heard Speaker Johnson call this a mistake, just sort of shrug it off and say that the administration would learn from it. This is not a mistake. This is a fireable offense. The president put these incompetent people in position to safeguard our country's sensitive defense and security information, and instead they're treating it like they're in some kind of a March Madness chat group with their fraternity brothers. Anyone who wants to be taken seriously on national security should be focused on this today. Not trying to break the Endangered Species Act or kill wolves or rename bodies of water to appease a petulant president.
I can't believe we've hit a new low. I didn't even think there was a lower point to reach. Yet, here we are. Marjorie Taylor Greene is once again making history, and not in a good way. To put it plainly, she continues to prove herself as the most clueless member of Congress we've ever seen. At a moment like this, what could possibly make her think that the biggest issue is renaming the Gulf of Mexico, or as she calls it, the Gulf of America, a name so ridiculous I refuse to use it. These people don't actually care about the values they claim to stand for. Everything they've ever said about backing the blue was a lie. We saw that on January 6th. They claimed we needed to cut funding to Ukraine to take care of our veterans. Yet they turned around and slashed the VA budget. And now these so-called national security China hawks don't even care that classified military documents are leaking to Elon Musk and reporters at The Atlantic. This is absolute insanity. It's reckless, it's hypocritical, and it's why Democrats continue to call out Donald Trump and his entire administration, just like we saw in this moment.
He created a hoax that allowed him to become part of this Signal thread? Please answer the question. You don't insult the intelligence of the American people. Did he invite himself to the Signal thread?
I don't know how he was invited, but clearly he was added.
Clearly it was. Finish your sentence, please.
Clearly he was added to the signal group. Your question is...
You don't know that the president's national security advisor invited him to join the signal thread? Everybody in America knows that. Does the CIA director not know that?
I've seen conflicting reports about who added the reporter to the signal messaging group.
It's perfectly appropriate that there was a reporter added, especially one that the Secretary of Defense says is deceitful, highly discredited, a so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes over and over again. Is your testimony that it was appropriate that he was added to this signal thread?
No, of course not. And
why did you not call?
Hold on, Senator. You're mischaracterizing my testimony.
Good. You answered the question. Let me ask you: when he was added to the thread, you're the CIA director. Why didn't you call out that he was present on the signal thread?
I don't know if you use signal messaging app.
I do. Not for classified information, not for targeting.
Well, neither
not
do I,
for
Senator.
Anything remote.
Neither do I, Senator.
Well, that's what your testimony is today.
It absolutely is not, Senator. Were you not listening at the beginning?
No.
When I said that I was using it as permitted, it is permissible to use.
I agree that's your testimony.
Yeah.
I agree that's your testimony. You asked me if I use it, and I said not for targeting, not for classified information.
And I said I don't either.
I also know Jeff Goldberg. I don't use it to communicate with him. But you thought it was appropriate. By the way, I think he's one of the more outstanding journalists in America.
Democrats need to seize this moment. Donald Trump promised an administration that, while it might have some so-called mean tweets, would deliver a strong economy, one that would supposedly make the chaos worth it. Instead, we're left with a failing economy and more dangerous instability than ever before. Now is the time to call him out. Trump has filled his administration with some of the most clueless people in politics, alongside the wealthiest elites who are only looking out for themselves. We need to expose this reality every single day, and that's exactly what we'll continue to do on this show. If you support this message, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you made it to the end, drop a heart in the comments. Until next time, I'll see you soon.